Welcome everyone to another morning live stream here, straight from our breaking news department. Did I actually put notice in here? Ultra low latency, zero drop frames, amazing stuff in the morning, just as good coffee. So you see it already, we expected it already, somewhat unfortunately. Sad news, exactly that highest powerful SKU we were waiting for ourselves, AMD Ryzen 9 3950X, and I don't know, Threadripper on hold until November. So yeah, really sad news. Unfortunately, I somewhat had the gut feeling already because I checked every other day because I wanted to order it ASAP here for our massive Linux compilation stuff. And by the way, fun fact from last night, tested here this T2 release from last night, the AMD 64 EFI build that actually boots on old Apple crapware with just minor edits if you want working frame buffer output there. But yeah, for exactly this reason, you have seen all the live streams. How long does it take to build a Linux distribution? Well, thanks to last gen's Ryzen, not that long, but I really wish I could finally get that SKU. Why do I want this SKU? Of course, we need the latest and greatest performance, well, the latest and greatest that we can afford, being cheapskates. And that is why I don't want to get a Threadripper, because certainly much higher costs. So I expected this already a little bit, and now here final official news here announced in a surprise email today that the Ryzen original slated for launch this month has been delayed until November. Yeah, really, wow. Not amazing news. That means well, for me, I save some money until then, but I could, of course, buy here the 3900 SKU, but that is also $500, $600 euro something, and I don't really want to buy a SKU that I would use for some months. Maybe I rather for the next years have the really highest performance SKU. And they're right here focusing on meeting strong demands on our third gen or the third gen AMD Ryzen processor in the market. And yeah, also congratulations for disrupting the CPU market like this, certainly what Intel deserved. And initial members of the third gen Ryzen Threadripper processor family in volume this November. We're confident that when enthusiasts get their hands on the world's first 16-core mainstream desktop processor and their next generation high-end desktop processor, the wait will be well worth it. Well, it's of course, they see the wait will be worth it. It would also actually well worth it, my money and time to have it now. I mean, certainly it exists. By the way, fun fact, AMD, if you want to support us, you can would be much appreciated if such a sample finds the way our way. But yeah, 16 cores, 32 threads, listing starting price $749 plus taxes, obviously. And with this market speculations, it would not surprise me if it eventually goes on sale in a month plus time, nearly 2 months, if the market asking street price would be higher than that. And the delay, let's see here, there is 32 claiming from the example showed. Delayed, extreme shortage, yeah, so it also means the already launched Ryzen 9 3900X has already extreme shortages, and probably also because they manufacture this at TSMC and the foundry that AMD uses, as well as Apple and others for the 7nm A13 CPU in the iPhone 11. And even TSMC, they see how many silicon manufacturers are left there, not so many. TSMC, Samsung, Global Foundries, they are not so much. Intel, obviously, but it's not like Intel is, well, Intel's process also being delayed. And TSMC apparently increased their lead time for new orders here from 2 months to 6. So you see how busy TSMC is keeping up with demands there on the silicon front, and how important it is to have more than one supplier, right? If we increasingly have here only TSMC left, somewhat with Samsung and Intel, yeah, And in other news, I probably skipped over this. I think I didn't really mention this. I was aware of this lawsuit, GlobalFoundries. The fun fact, of course, and irony, that GlobalFoundries is a former AMD division, split out of AMD. So GlobalFoundries was previous AMD's own. They had a couple of, actually, I think maybe even, how many fabs did they had? Over 10 or something, maybe not all simultaneously running, but they split this off of their main business because, well, first of all, AMD needed money. Obviously, they were also often at the verge of bankruptcy, but they also struggled just as Intel with advancing their silicon process stuff because it's certainly super expensive business. And it's of course ironic that GlobalFoundries stopped, as far as the news tell, developing the new smaller process nodes and bringing them in production. And so basically, but this also means this company will die, right? I mean, if they are not innovating and advancing in process technology like 10, 7 nanometer and all that fun jazz, then they will go extinct, right? What do they want to sell in 5 or 10 years? I mean, of course, they can right now, they can manufacture like second-grade silicon for Bosch and Volkswagen and all the other not as latest and greatest state-of-the-art stuff like defeating engine control modules and stuff, but and then all the other not as top-of-the-line silicon. But what do they want to manufacture in 5 or 10 years if they do not develop and deploy 10 and 7 nanometer process? I don't know. It's really sad that this previous state-of-the-art, even part of AMD companies, result in suing other companies over alleged patents. Well, at least TSMC, whatever they have copied, stolen, or hired former employees to tell them secrets. But fact is, TSMC has 7 nanometer sort of kind of marketing process running, and GlobalFoundries has not. You could argue this is because TSMC has stolen all the secrets, but on the other hand, I doubt they have stolen too many secrets. Also, there are this tooling companies, whatever, she should have probably silicon lithography tooling, silicon lithography tooling, and probably a typo. That is what is it, AMISL something, and tooling companies. Because all the hint, is it high-tech laser lithography solutions for direct, right? What? Anyway, here, ASML. Hey, how close was I? I need to rewind the stream. Probably relatively close, I think. And they buy all the tools from the same companies. And so, yeah, certainly they have patents, and I'm totally not a fan of patents. Anyway, if GlobalFoundries would not have spent all the millions on patent lawyers, maybe they would have had their 10 nanometer process running. But yeah, we are increasingly, I said this before, probably in other Intel process node news, but we really need more than one company. And yeah, TSMC, Samsung, well, there are a couple of more, but they are mostly doing not as fine structures and memory and SSD, so random access and solid state memory. But yeah, the problem is, of course, even you and me and all the others, it is a totally risky business, billions of investments, and certainly it's easier to run a tax sham Ponzi scheme there allegedly as WeWorks than starting silicon manufacturing. But yeah, difficult times there on this front, certainly, and really sad news that yeah, latest and greatest process stuff not that mass available than it should be. Yeah, comments in the audience, they have stolen 7 nanometers, that's for sure. Yeah, that is really, yeah, not amazing development, especially TSMC manufactures like literally probably next to everything except maybe, so probably the I/O, so the CPU compute nodes are chiplets are manufactured at TSMC. Maybe the I/O chiplet there. The I/O controller might be manufactured at GlobalFoundries still, I think. But yeah, anyway, I hope GlobalFoundries still finds their act together and still deploys then, unless they purchase old fabs from TSMC and only deploy 10 nanometer in 5 years when it's phasing out at TSMC, I don't know. As we already hear with latest and greatest IT news, VPN apps with 500 million plus installs caught serving disruptive ads to Android users. Yeah, just what I said, right? I always said here, VPN apps not an amazing thing. Most web traffic already should be encrypted, and if you route everything to one data center, if you target by CIA or whatever, then routing all your traffic. Although it should be already HTTPS and SSL, email, IMAP-S and SMTPS and so on should already be encrypted. So encrypting it again, but then instead of locally routing it to wherever you are. So probably it's safer if you are some Edward Snowden to go to a Starbucks and use your, I mean, everything encrypted anyway and stuff, but instead of routing everything to your NordVPN or TunnelBear VPN and whatever that company was here, it's just, well, most people don't need it, right? And those people who need it doesn't really give much security. And then if they already disruptive ad behavior, apart from containing advertising APIs from both Google and Facebook, Hotspot VPN, developed by Hotspot VPN 2019, contained obfuscated code to show full screen ads at any given point in time, irrespective of whether the app was running in the foreground or otherwise, resulting in significant battery and CPU usage. Yeah, that's what I fun fact, I have nearly no apps on my phones because why should I? Don't need all the toy stuff for anything anyway. The more toy stuff you install, the more ad and malware stuff you get. By the way, fun fact, and now that I did here this ad hoc Ryzen stuff, I figured there was another news that I actually forget about. So yeah, recurring theme here, VPN is not amazing. And here was also some Facebook news and similar news. Now that I talk about this, that I didn't even wrote down. But apparently Facebook suspends 10,000s of... Why should we pause? Yes, go away. I already showed you out here. Facebook suspends 10,000s of apps following data investigation. I wonder what apps are left. I mean, how many Facebook apps are there? And if they suspend tens of thousands of apps, are those all? Or how many crappy Facebook apps are there that there are any left after suspending 10,000s? Crazy times, in my opinion. But they said Friday, they have suspended 10,000 of apps. They have mishandled users' personal data. Yeah, I mean, not like Facebook or any other would have for years mishandled. A recurring theme here already, apparently, allegedly, hundreds of times or so this happened. Fresh concerns about tech giants' privacy practices and exposing it to other potential standoff with US regulators. Yeah, no surprise there. Welcome, Detard. Yeah, recurring theme here, nothing too new. I wouldn't use Facebook anyway for anything. Anyway, in similar news, new Chrome beta is out. CSS properties, values, whatever. Native file system. First, I wanted to say, this sounded to me like accessing more native files doesn't sound like an amazing idea in this web private times. But I took a closer look, and it looks to me that this is only having a better native file save open panel interaction. So maybe that's not a too bad thing after all. So much to your first initial look is like, yeah, what the heck? But then, yeah, okay, it's only open save panel here. And you wonder, however, that in 2019, that is big news. Native file system, open save panel in 2019. Google or web innovation as its best. And yeah, also probably increasing web APIs, probably thousands of APIs already. I mean, on top of other APIs, not amazing. I think they have Bluetooth access and they certainly have USB access APIs, which is a little bit, yeah, seriously, you want to have USB access in your browser for your USB devices. Sounds a little bit like solution waiting for quite some problems. Last but not least, we have some systemd news that I really wonder. Just scrolled by here from our favorite Pöttering, reinventing all kinds of bullshit. and I need to have on my coffee to get over this news. This is so hilarious. So in Reinventing the Home Directory, another of Pöttering's solutions asking for a problem or something, answer, looking for a question. And so he has here whatever etc. So UID assignment needs propagated between systems. This is a little bit like transferring home systems. In my opinion, so apparently super complex systemd solution of maintaining UID assignment and transferring this between systems, which in my opinion in 20 years, 2 decades of Linux, I never had a problem transferring my home directory over. I really have the impression that this kind of modern Linux stuff are all solution, especially including systemd, right? I have no problem still booting my Linux System 5 stuff. It boots fast enough. I can debug this shell scripts. There were so many bugs in systemd, stuff not booting, so many off by one comparison off by something with whatever IDs, and so many showstopper bugs, including random, although the random bug was AMD related, but yet reinventing stuff. I could certainly boot my Linux on defect AMD or defect random firmware whatsoever. And we had cron, but yeah, all old-fashioned technology, but so is monolithic Linux kernel. And to me, the whole thing looks really like Windows, right? Where you have a binary-only registry, where you have all this binary-only programs, host, process stuff there, also for updates and stuff. I really like the granularity of readable, small, beautiful, minimal components, and systemd exact the opposite. What I also really like on other old-fashioned stuff, like System 5, that it's shell scripts that you can read and not all distilled in C programs that you always need to edit and recompile and debug for hours in a debugger if something goes wrong. So I'm really glad that I don't run systemd, and I'm really getting increasingly frustrated, including, by the way, do we have audio? I didn't even check it pulls audio, right? Actually, today we have audio. The one thing that I have of this Pöttering software is pulls audio. That is the only thing that constantly fails on my live streaming setup here. Not a big fan of that. Probably systemd, or didn't realize the README was private yesterday. Here's a public one relevant to the article. Did I miss something, or... yeah, focus home on real regular users, particular laptop users. Well, I never had a problem. I don't know why they need to reinvent. I usually rsync between my Sun and PowerPC and stuff, and nothing that a change own recursive wouldn't fix in a heartbeat. Goal migrating home directories all the way to the point of home on a stick. Yeah, not that I can't recommend this because this USB sticks fail sooner than later. Fun fact, I actually need to make another video. I have here in my wallet somewhere between these amazing Euro coins, because European Union, right, amazing stuff. I have here a dead SD card in my wallet. This is, by the way, SanDisk. I wanted for over a year, if not 2 years, make a video about this already. This failed on me. I run a better FS on this SanDisk Ultra 64 GB from a couple of years ago. It's already defect since 2 years, and wanted to finish some testing since 2 years. But so this stopped. This also fails really ridiculously. I mentioned this already a couple of times in side notes. So don't run your home directory on a USB stick or SD card, or at least, by the way, tell me do you know really good SD card, which, by the way, I had in this Microsoft Surface here for this portable before. This is why I switched to this SSD setup here, because this is, of course, a professional SSD, M.2 in here that we disassembled already, previous video down below. So if you want to recover data or upgrade this or whatever, because those cheap, or well, not that cheap, this was an Ultra Pro one here, they usually don't have wear leveling, right? And so this is why they can fail really quickly, and I wouldn't recommend running any data that you value at anything on a USB stick or SD card. And yes, there are this high endurance USB sticks, but they are more expensive, often larger. But yeah, if you want to do this, probably take a high endurance USB stick. And yeah, this SD card, which I probably just slammed down my wallet there, this SD card also stopped working really stupidly. I didn't even notice it stopped working. There you see, somehow I probably need to reinvent everything and write my own SD card firmware. Of course, there's an ARM controller in there, right? And probably could even hack this, maybe like Mika Scott, or plus minus her name typos. I think it's Mika Scott or so, of Scamline or something on YouTube. She also did some amazing hacking, like hacking a Blu-ray drive that was pretty cool. I think also had an ARM controller. And this SD card from SanDisk, this should be verboten, right? I was working all day on my Microsoft Surface, rebooting, like programming, writing valuable code, rebooting, and the next day the data was gone. And then, did I not do this yesterday? What happened there? Really crappy shit. This is also commit your stuff early, otherwise you reboot on your SD card and your data is gone. And it turned out this stupid SD card from SanDisk simply has thrown away all the writes without errors. So if this SD card would have indicated a write error, which it didn't, so it's still accepting writes, it's just throwing them away. So it looks like it's working, like it's recording video on a camera or your portable Linux machine, and your data is going nowhere, and then data is not there. The only benefit is, but you can still access the data, which is, by the way, not good, although it's full disk encrypted. But this is really stupid behavior that should be forbidden, and this is why most likely eventually next month or something, eventually I need to make a video about SD cards, USB drives, and wear leveling. And it's also ridiculous that in 2019 these SD cards are not that cheap, right? Although the price came down the last years. I brought this probably 4 years ago. It's already defect for over 2 years. But so 2 years or 4 years ago, the SD cards were not that cheap, and they should have wear leveling, right? Why do this crappy, not as cheap SD cards not have wear leveling like all other SSDs? And also, yeah, do not just throw away users' data, just return a write error. And if it would be a write error, I would have noticed that immediately. I would have saved in an editor, and it would have told me error, IO error, and I would have seen in the dmask, hello, a Linux kernel warning sign, IO error writing to whatever, STB2 or C or whatever. And yeah, totally not cool. And this is not how you're doing this. And the problem is, this is proprietary firmware, and normal reviewers, like I review something on YouTube, only, yay, that is the most amazing, large, cheap SD card, and these problems are not pointed out enough for normal people to understand. And this is why, in my opinion, vendors get away with this for decades, because there are not enough savvy tech people really pointing out that this is not okay. That this is why everything sucks in tech, because write errors are thrown away, data is lost, people are reinventing init systems for no good reasons. Yeah, self-contained home directories. And by the way, also fun fact, we have so many problems in desktop Linux. Portable home directory certainly is not one of them, right? And who, raise your hand, who is running, well, except running, raise your hand, and I do it, but I run my whole system from this just for random system testing here, also mostly actually YouTube channel related, that I can mix and match here. Otherwise I would probably not even do this here with this portable SSD thing. But how many of you run your stuff on the portable USB stick? In my opinion, if you have a device, like an amazing device, not a crap Apple device, then you probably want your data on there. And yeah, except of course, if it's a crappy Apple device and the SSD is soldered to the motherboard, maybe then that is a reason. Maybe Pöttering is running a MacBook with soldered on SSD, that certain, because then you can't neither upgrade nor data recover that. But yeah, self-contained home directories, home foobar, home synthesizes, user foobar, what the heck, goals, migrate home directories all the way to the point of home on a stick. Yeah, self-contained use ID, you repeat your stuff. Can you also get over this already? In my opinion, who asked for this? Log looks on system suspend. Yeah, but actually, this is a little bit funny, because the last time I tried system suspend doesn't work with mounted file systems on external USB stuff. Not really sure if that has changed recently, but I said this before, the Linux kernel disconnected all USB devices on suspend and reconnected this just as USB would have switched off. And as far as I've seen, this doesn't work with mounted volumes. So either you unmount your home, but this doesn't, they didn't say unmount here, they say lock looks, lock looks, like encrypted. It does not mean unmounting it, but yeah. So doesn't really, not really sure if that would work unless they fix the Linux kernel for that, but doesn't in any way. What is the complications? SSH login, WhatsApp disk-based assignment, UID change, on login. Yeah, anyway, looks a little bit like have they nothing else to do. Why not make an amazing desktop environment, graphics subsystem, Wayland finally, and yeah, JSON user record. Yeah, you had me at, you already had me at, this is an idea from Pettering or someone, probably all systems also too. Is that even? I think so. Yeah, say hello to innovations coming next to you, JSON, user records, you name it. Probably what you were waiting for in 2019. Probably you were not waiting for Wayland or other amazing UI innovation, consistency, whatever. Snappy browsers, hardware isolated browsers. Certainly the only thing you have waited for was portable home directories, because that is probably what each and every one of you and me at home and everyone playing along at home is doing all day long. Yeah, and just when you were wondering, in other more, so we opened this already. Yeah, okay, that is the last news then. That was only what we opened after in the stream. Anyway, I hope you learned something. So let's see, prepared some persistent live USBs for you. System is getting out of hands. In my opinion, systemd has long gone out of hands. If it initially would have been only an init system, but as far as I've heard, again, I've not even packaged this in T2, and I probably will refuse to do so unless someone of you wants to desperately do it and send me a patch. But I will not touch this crap except committing it. But as far as I've seen, not only do they have bootloader integration, they also have network stuff, DHCP server and whatnot. In my opinion, this is the same mistake. Stuff should be modular and fine-grained, that you have a well-defined code bases, not everything meshed together in one spaghetti code base, similar to the Linux kernel. What is next? Monolithic Linux kernel with running systemd in the same address space with a DHCP client in the kernel space. Also, I don't quite get this. And again, we didn't have the most problems with booting or whatsoever. Init stuff was working fine. But if it only would have been the self-contained init system, even that would be fine. We had Meanit, Runit, and certainly others, init systems. This was probably not the most important thing lacking on Linux, but probably your mileage may vary. Detard, using Ubuntu for years because it's easy to just work. So I've also used Gentoo for years and optimized system, really considering dumping Ubuntu for Gentoo thanks to systemd. Yeah, complications that should be the name of this paper. Likers have prepared some system is getting out of hand. Likewise, they have prepared some persistent and live USBs for use. Oh, it takes the whole. I would take the whole OS2. What? Okay, live USBs, so I can use a decent OS on public computers. Yeah, I mean, this is what I do, right? But this has nothing to do with this home stuff. So I have my live system that I can boot everywhere. Just that I don't need this systemd home crap innovation, because everything here is full disk encryption. The whole system is full disk encrypted. I don't even have a home partition or volume here. I have here only one root and home, everything, and full disk encrypted. So yeah, totally. Although I'm one of the few rare people using that, I even don't need this innovation of home stuff. Trusted vendors, so get your hands on a T495. Nobody has reviewed them in Dev's video yet. Yeah, I asked Lenovo actually for those, including the new X1 Carbon a couple of months ago, but we are a more small channel. I'm actually happy that they support me so well. So this is a T490. I would expect they are somewhat similar. They are not. The thing is, it's honestly a little bit. The systems are so similar that it's not the most worth to review them all in depth. They are the same chassis, the similar displays, and you see already from the display options what you get. The only things here: thermal, design power, limit of the GPU and CPU. But other from that, it's so similar that, yeah, I also don't want to overstress Lenovo and ask them, because this is a loaner unit. I mentioned this before, really little shout out, not paid advertisement, but they said, you know, this is T490, is already from our review stock. A couple of people had this. No, it's not as important. We have it here on stock. If you want it for a couple of months, you can have it. So yeah, why not? Then you don't need to buy one, especially as the AMD ones have. We made a video. The AMD laptops have fewer display options, especially in most markets anyway. So yeah, then I save. We are cheapskates, so save some money, and I can long-term test this. By the way, fun fact: this Linux is our T2 Linux. Our unsuccessful T2 Linux is so unsuccessful, crappy stuff, according to the Debian people, that this ThinkPad here, live streaming heavily every other day, a couple of times from a portable USB that I shouldn't pull too much. So stability-wise, uptime 14 days, not too bad for shabby one-man unsuccessful Linux distribution, right? So in general, this works quite well. Certainly, well, except the Intel Wireless has some hiccups, but probably you don't even notice the Intel Wireless hiccups that I struggled myself with here on live streams, because you're probably not live streaming as much, and you probably, this is not a Lenovo thing, right? So this Intel's wireless firmware just being a little bit buggy, like just like everything and Intel and modern stuff apparently. But otherwise, just choose if you need more graphic performance. I would think the AMD laptop has a couple of 30, 40, 50, 70% higher graphic performance depending on the SKU and configuration and Intel model you compared with. And yeah. What else do we have? Just being lazy, how you doing? What else did we have here? Loopback SD devices, even from those loopback SD devices. Definitely not a home directory, USB stick. I think we had most here read out, maybe with CPUs being so fast now, they don't even mind compiling from source on my main system anymore. What? I don't even mind compiling from source on my... Okay, you mean previously you minded compiling from source. Well, I of course have done this even on a 120 MHz Pentium back in the Rock Linux days. Later the IDT WinChip 240 even downclocked for higher system bus there at 225 or what that was. There back in the day, which certainly was faster than the 120 MHz Pentium. So basically forever, although I totally understand, on the x86 it usually was quite okay to build from source. This Rock Linux Naughty 2, where it was really annoying was the PowerPC stuff, and even more so the Spark stuff, because for years I didn't have, or I still don't have a faster Spark. So it's even 15 years ago, x86 stuff was at 1 GHz, 2 GHz, and my fastest Spark 270, 360. And that is certainly totally not fun. And especially after 15 years of software getting larger, compilers getting slower, I know where you're coming from. And using Ubuntu, okay, we had this, recommended Void Linux. You can still enjoy the benefits of binary-based distributions while evading the use of systemd. Yeah, certainly we recommend T2 Linux here, but yeah. Probably Void was Void in Musil Linux or static linked or something, but hey, Andreas Baumann is here. Welcome. Using Unison on my home partition to sync between. Yeah, actually was looking on, probably I make another fun video on Unison or something. That's some public service union. What? Unison sync. Probably another package to package. Where would be the... Yeah, I mean, and by the way, some proper cloud sync or distributed sync is much more something I would want than this bloody systemd home system partition. So I would actually would want more. I would want more a private synchronized cloud stuff on my own Linux server for my shared home directory between all my machines than the systemd stuff. I don't know. Is it this one? It's always in this day and age, everyone has his forked GitHub repositories, and you don't even quite know if this is the official repository or not. But here's some website here. Oh, a good old-fashioned website, just how we like it. Runs in Windows and Unix and allows to replicate collection of files and directories stored on different hosts. Shares numbers of features with tools, configuration management, CVS version, works between pair of machines connected to the internet. Something maybe not sure. Do we have a package of that? Do I have even some T2 terminals somewhere? Like here, find, maybe not. Apparently something we can package next. Making T2 the greatest source distribution you live on YouTube. And try Dev and Oberon. Thanks for saying welcome. Detard has also done this on slow systems, but for daily driver work laptop would be slow, but nowadays it's fine. Well, actually, I have done this already on, even when I had a Power iBook that was 800 megahertz or something, or 700, 600. It was possible, right? But even back in the day, compiling, what would that be, Mozilla probably, or what was it called before Firefox? And you could compile probably Mozilla on an 800, 600 G3 Power PC iBook within 45 minutes or something. But yeah, nowadays it's even, actually I have to say now, a decade ago it was easier stuff just built. Nowadays you have Rust stuff. So now it's getting really annoying to build Firefox. You have to often update Rust and Cargo. You have seen all my live streams and complaining about this just. And then even latest times Node.js, which I still don't quite understand why you need Node.js for building Firefox. And yeah, user-friendly distributions here, T2, certainly the most user-friendly, right? If you want raw like sushi, vanilla, open source stuff. And I certainly only use T2 for the most part, so mostly can recommend that. And as per last night's image, I tested this on my Retina MacBook Pro. Well, I didn't install this, but at least I test booted this, test booted the EFI. If you also for Danny and others, just mount the ISO on your favorite operating system. I tested on Mac OS. I think, did I Mac OS? Yeah, I think I used Mac OS. Mounted the ISO, copied the files even in the bloody Finder, and that just booted then on EFI stuff as per, without any modifications. Only on Macs, I didn't have graphics, so for graphic probably in the future we need to edit the grub default ISO conf a little bit. For EFI Macs I had to insmod in grub, not Linux, in grub, console, C for console, and then insmod. Insmod all video and GFX term. I commented this on the previous video there below. Then I had text output there in video. Yeah, that's it probably for today. Thanks for recommending all the other Linux distributions. We certainly are the greatest fans of T2 here. As per usual, we have the most people tuned in here when we are done with the stream. Thank you everyone anyway for tuning in and trying out T2 and updating your favorite stuff. I have plenty of GNOME patch updates pending because I just didn't build on the build server anyway, because certainly many of the other GNOME dependencies didn't build. But yeah, if you are missing something, thanks for joining. Happy you found it fun. If you would try T2 and want to use this built from source, totally raw upstream vanilla experience that is T2, then, and you miss your favorite packages, just send patches my way. Adding packages super easy, as done here live on YouTube plenty of times. And if you cannot just figure it out, there is a handbook there on t2sde.org. And if you, it should be totally easy to create a package. And if you somehow anyway, basically just either read the fucking manual or copy an existing one and edit it until it builds. And if you either don't have the time or don't manage this yet or whatever, then you can just send suggestions to the mailing list to package stuff up, or comment under YouTube videos, also whatever. Everything works for me. Yeah. Sorry that the news are not the most amazing. I wish we could order the Ryzen eventually, but at least we have the 8-core 16-thread thing still from last year. Until then, saves us a couple of euros until then, but whatever. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something, and thanks for the Unison suggestion. Maybe I will package it just for the fun of it. Official releases live on GitHub. Ah, yeah, they are here. Wait a second, the last release is from 2018, over a year ago. Seriously? Kidding me? Okay, anyway, probably just package it because it's always fun. Yeah, I said this, I could order the 12 core, but as I said already previously in the beginning of this stream and previous streams, I don't really want to spend my money on, well, also the 12 core is quite rare, also supply constraint as well, but I don't really want to buy a 12 core when I want the most performance for the next years, and then I spend this 500 something dollar or euro for the 12 core just when I upgrade to the other one, and then I need to resell it or stock it on its depreciating or depreciating. Anyway, so yeah, I could just buy that, but it's not that much faster. I rather have like the twice the performance than just 75% plus performance or something, or 50%. How much would that even be? Probably, yeah, 60% performance plus. Yeah, this is, yeah, I can also just wait. It's still fast enough, certainly for the next months. Also, not only cheapskate, but saving the environment a little bit. Avoiding ordering an extra processor also consumes manufacturing resources, shipping it. Even if I resell it used, and then you have all the reselling used stuff on eBay. And yeah, I can just wait a month or two. Anyway, I can just log into your Intel Intanium system though and use that for building T2, certainly. Anyway, yeah, see you soon for the next streams to come. Thanks for joining, and yeah, probably time. Yeah, actually, I wonder how fast Intanium is. It's probably heavily multi-core, right? How many we could actually, but certainly not very cool for your. Let me just open the mail. Wait a second. The camera, the camera was unfocused. Don't want that. This comes from powering up the camera with manual focus from last night. It's also hilarious that the camera really could save. Hello, Thunderbird. Hey, zero drop frames. Yeah, I didn't want to have Thunderbird. Thunderbolt. Everything is Thunder. This camera could also really save the manual focus point from last powering off, though. Let's see. Here is an eBay auction notification. Only live on this channel. What do they? 1.4, so didn't want to really open that there, but whatever. Can we also detach? Wait a second, where is my... here it is, no. Did I not get this already? What the heck? Actually wanted to check the morning update, so is this... No, this is the one that I knew already. Why did I get a second notification for this already? Actually, I wanted to check how many T2 updates we have. Let's see. T2 updates. Also, do we have any other useful news here. Let me show that. Yeah, only one. Hey, they updated the XF6086 video geode driver to 1120. Amazing stuff. What did they change in that one? Only here live on this channel if the release announcements would load. Maybe eventually. Okay, so not so many T2 updates to do, then it's not really worth to continue live stream for one geode update. 16 sockets, 32 core, 64 threads. Interesting stuff. Welcome there, everyone. Yeah, certainly probably has a high power power connector, right? With, speaking of my concerns, it needs 4K of power to run. Yeah, that's what I expected. Some 3-phase power connector, right? So did this load in the meantime? No, it didn't. So okay, then whatever. Also probably did not want it to. Details there. And yeah, exactly, that is why we certainly rather want to run the Ryzen, which, by the way, fun fact, so far we have come right from the inefficient Intenium stuff, requiring 4K watt of power for 32 core, 64 threads. That is what nowadays you get in a ITX form factor of only 2 socket Threadripper, and even the memory I nearly, well, with the Ryzen SKU not shipping, the 3950X, I would have half the thread count, right? Maybe even the same performance, but half the thread count on paper for 16, wait a second, 16 sockets, yeah. So that is half the power in numbers, but maybe the Ryzen has a higher instruction per clock throughput IPC than this old-fashioned Intenium stuff. And even the memory I start to approach with mini ITX based compute nodes, where I have now the previous video 32 gig modules in there for a total of whopping 64 gigabyte of memory. So yeah, crazy times just in a decade or something. Much faster, it would be much faster than the Intenium. Yeah, the Intenium is in order execution for, yeah, and explicit parallel instruction set goodness, and half of your molecule atoms there in the instructions, usually packed with knobs. Amazing stuff that Intel invented there. Anyway, thanks for joining. Hope you learned something, including last night's ISO image boot there at least. Well, I've not tried burning this to an optical ISO. I still only use ISOs as a shipping container, not worrying too much about burning this anymore, although the 32-bit one is tested in QEMU, so the 32-bit one you can burn on optical media, which are not really the most recommended, but the 64-bit one, just mount it, copy it to a FAT formatted stick and boot it, worked for me. And yeah, thanks for joining, and stay tuned for all the next stuff to come, and see you soon then.